Welcome to Burn On Not Out, the podcast for founders and CEOs who are done being the bottleneck. I'm Brooke Dukes. Each week, we expose the structural patterns that slow execution, override leaders, and keep decisions flowing back to the top. And we replace them with clear decision rules, defined ownership, and operating discipline that scales. Let's get into it. Let me start with something that may feel a bit uncomfortable. If your team hesitates before executing, if they double-check decisions, they wait for your approval, even after you've delegated, it may not be a capability issue. It may be a trust issue. And more specifically, they may not trust your decisions. Not because you're wrong, not because you're incompetent, but because decisions in your company don't always stick. I'm sure you've heard this question before. Would you rather your team like you, trust you, or respect you? A lot of leaders say respect. Some say like. But here's what actually matters. It's nice if your team likes you. It's useful if they respect you. But what determines whether you can actually lead them is whether they trust your decisions. Trust isn't built by personality. It's built by consistency. Your team builds trust when direction doesn't shift unexpectedly. They lose trust when decisions change without a clear expectation. So here's what trust in leadership really comes down to. It's confidence that a decision will remain in place unless something objective changes. From your seat, a pivot may feel thoughtful. From their seat, it feels unpredictable. Here's what happened inside our company when I changed direction after we had already committed. I announced a new marketing direction. So the messaging shifted, priorities shifted, and execution shifted. And the team reorganized their work around that new direction. And then 2 weeks later, I said, I've been thinking, maybe we should shift the angle a bit. I believed I was optimizing, but here's what they experience. Is this final? Should I fully commit? Will this change again next week? And when I changed direction, and it wasn't dramatic, but just enough to redirect focus, 3 things happened. 1, momentum slowed. Projects that were moving along smoothly started to stall. Not because people were incapable, but because they were waiting to see if I would change again. The second thing that happened, the conversations increased. There were more clarifying questions, more check-in, more meetings to get alignment and make sure we were going in the right direction. No one said it directly, but you could feel it. There was less certainty that this direction would hold. And when that uncertainty enters the room, something else happens. It becomes unclear who actually has the final say. And when that question becomes fuzzy, everything routes back to the founder. This is how founders accidentally retrain their companies to depend on them. Founders don't do this because they're careless. They do it because they care. They want to improve. They want to refine. They want to get it right. And when direction changes too often, execution slows. I know that you think you're being strategic, but your team experiences moving targets. That contrast is powerful. So I want your team to trust your decisions. So here's 3 things that have to change. First, separate strategic decisions from experiments. You need to treat experiments and strategic decisions differently. Experiments can be flexible. They're designed to test and adjust. Strategic decisions are commitments. They require steadiness. If you treat strategic commitments like experiments, your team stops taking them seriously. Second, reduce public reversals. But don't change your mind to the whole team. Challenge ideas privately. Commit publicly. This is powerful. If you're unsure, work it through with 1 or 2 key leaders. Don't process uncertainty in front of the entire team. 3. Install decision lifespans. Every strategic decision should have a lifespan. This decision stands for 90 days. It's not emotional. It's time-bound and clear, and it gives you room to breathe. This is different from defining a metric trigger. It's about predictability. Your team doesn't need perfect decisions. They need decisions they can rely on. And when your decisions hold, your leadership holds. Thanks for listening to Burn On, Not Out. If decisions are still flowing back to you, don't just take notes. Install structure. Watch the CEO Decision Reset to learn how to stop being the default escalation point and remove yourself as the bottleneck. The link is in the show notes. Until next week, structure before strategy.